From the burning mesas of the Arizona desert to the slot machine-clad boardwalks of New Jersey, it's the Imaginarium with Scott and Todd. I'm Scott Colbert.
And I'm the horror nerd, Todd Staruch.
And once again, we've done this, I think, maybe four times since you've been on the show, at least, Todd. And that's offering condolences for yet another senseless act of violence.
Absolutely. I am still having a hard time wrapping my brain around this one. Despite being so far away, I feel somehow, I don't know, it's weird. I feel connected to it somehow. And my heart is just broken for all those families and lives that have been destroyed.
I echo that 1,000%. And we have a guest with us today who lives down in Florida. Fortunately, he was not at the club that night, but he did go to the memorial service the next day. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and just some other things in general about the shooting. We're going to dedicate the entire show to this. So if that's not your cup of tea, I'm sorry, but this is something that needs to be talked about, and just for more than 5 minutes. This needs a full show. So that's what we're doing this week. So Jonathan Size is the guest with us. So welcome, Jonathan.
Welcome.
Well, thank you guys very much for having me.
You bet.
All right, thanks for coming on. So why don't you give us a little bit of your history before we get into this, so we know you a little bit better.
Okay, so basically, I'm a Florida transplant. I've been here for a little bit over a year and a half. Work brought me out here, and my boyfriend's going to school here. So we've been here for a year and a half, and we've adjusted pretty well. Florida's a beautiful place to live.
Okay, where are you from?
I'm from New Mexico.
New Mexico is a good place to be from.
New Mexico is beautiful, and I love it. That will always be my home. No matter where I move, New Mexico will always be home.
Where were you, or what were you doing when you first heard about the shootings on Saturday night?
Well, I was actually asleep, and my dad called me at 7 o'clock in the morning, our time, which is, about 5 o'clock their time. And he called me, and he sounded like he was crying. And I was kind of upset that he called me because it was my day off, of course. And, basically he said something to the tune of, I just wanted to make sure that you were okay. There was a shooting in Orlando, and I had to call and check on you. Now, that didn't really register with me. And as soon as I hung up with him, I had fallen back asleep. And a couple of minutes after that, he had sent me an article, and it wasn't until about 10 o'clock that I woke up, and the first thing I did was check my phone. I read the article, and I noticed that I had a couple of texts from friends asking if I was okay. And it kind of hit me the further I got into the article that this had really happened, that something was not right. Basically, I remember spending, I guess, the first 2 hours of Sunday in tears watching the news. It was just so unreal to see this. I still haven't processed it fully, but I am fully aware that it happened, of course.
Jonathan, how far away from the club do you live, actually?
If I left my house now, I could be there in 20 minutes.
Okay.
That's pretty close.
Yeah, it is pretty close.
What about you, Todd? When did you first hear about it? I'm going to assume it was on Facebook, like me.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was like. I saw an article about it, and then I dug deeper into it, and then I tend to stay away from TV news, except for my local station, the New Jersey station, because I can't deal with the sensationalism, because it seems like the only thing, like the first thing that they're so concerned about is the number of people that are dead or wounded. It's almost like a contest to see how high the number is going to get. And I don't like that, whether it's, of course it's horrible that so many people died, all at once, but I'm just not into, like, let's see how high we can get that number. And then I just started, looking at various online news sources that are a little more balanced in my opinion.
Yeah, that was actually kind of the same for me. I'd seen something about the shooting online right before I went to bed, but there was nothing about the number of people who had been killed or injured or anything like that. It was just there was a shooting at a club in Florida. My first thought was, well, Florida, guns, that's not very surprising. And I went to bed, and when I woke up the next morning, and I saw exactly what it was, I mean, my jaw just about hit the floor. I couldn't believe it. Even, just a few days after, I still have, like you said, I have a hard time wrapping my head around the entire situation. And it's not even just the shooting itself, but everything that's gone on around it since then that just it boggles my mind.
As I tried my best to refrain from posting anything on social media about it or from reacting to the epic amounts of ridiculous stupidity that came across my news feed. But when I finally did post, what came to my mind was just the mind numbing sameness of it all. And what I mean by that is we have yet another mass shooting in this country, and immediately the first thing that happens is people drop what they're doing and run to their phones and their computers so they can hop on social media to use the event to promote their usual goddamn agenda, whether it's anti-gun, pro-gun, pro-Islam, anti-Islam, mental health, whatever your particular Kool-Aid is. People couldn't, and excuse my language, I know the show is a little more somber this time, but people can't fucking wait to use a tragedy to promote their own personal agenda. And it's just more of same every time. And the sad thing, Scott and Jonathan, to me is very profoundly sad, is we're already on the countdown to the next one.
Yeah, that is, I think that's the part that breaks my heart the most is that, we're as a country, we're still allowing things like this to happen. For a lot of us here in Orlando, that especially rings true. And I don't know what other word to say, but it's ridiculous.
Now you went to the vigil the very next day, yeah, and you took some pictures, and you were kind enough to send the pictures to us. So why don't you talk about the vigil and the pictures that went with them? And we're going to have these pictures posted up on the show page when we put it up on Monday, so people can follow along.
Okay, so first of all, let me set the mood about the vigil. There were tons of people there. The amount of people there, my mind can't even grasp it. And I haven't actually took the time to get the official numbers of how many people were there. But the amount of people who congregated for this was absolutely amazing. It was great to see everybody come out as a community, no matter what your beliefs or non-beliefs are. Everybody was there together. So I was able to take some pictures, and I guess one of the first ones I took was on my way out, and it's of a picture of a girl, wearing a pride flag as a cape, and it's draped over her body, and that was kind of a reminder to me that we as a community we still have our pride, and we're not completely lost. The next one, the next picture is of uh, it was an older couple who I guess were in town from Hong Kong, and they had taken the time to I don't know the proper term to I guess make signs that said love in their language, and the signs are beautiful. They're written in calligraphy. Uh, this the next one is of a smaller memorial that was in the back, and the thing that strikes my mind about that picture is what's going on around that picture. There's people just um, walking up, placing flowers. There's people crying. It was almost an unreal experience. Um, and one of the other pictures that really sticks out in my mind is the American flag. In the middle of everything, there was an American flag, and and it was a great reminder for me.
Yeah, I'm looking at the pictures now, actually following along. And again, as Scott said, we'll put these up. But I'm just looking, and there's also one that you posted that I think bears mentioning, and it's cut off a little bit, so I can't read the entire thing. But the gist of it is, it says the Arabic Muslim community highly condemns this attack, et cetera, because that was,
Yeah, let me go ahead and read the
yeah,
entirety of the
please
sign.
do, please.
So it says the Arabic and Muslim communities highly condemn the barbarian terrorism attack, which targeted innocents in Orlando City. We strongly stand with you during this critical time. God bless you all.
Yeah, I mean, there you have it. Again, the blood wasn't even dry, and people were rushing to connect it, to terrorism and Islam and ISIS, and all the same people came crawling out of the woodwork, you know, and Donald Trump, you couldn't wait to tweet about it, how he was right all along, and I wish I had him in front of me so I could say, listen, Dick, your ban on Muslims would have done nothing. The shooter was an American citizen originally from New York. So, can we just stop with the same rhetoric every time? Within minutes, people were, and oh, forget it. Once they found out he had an Arab sounding name, forget it. It was all over.
Yeah, I too was astonished that Donald Trump went ahead and took a victory lap.
Nothing that he does surprises me, And I don't want to turn this into a referendum on Donald Trump, but nothing he does surprises me. The depths he sinks to never cease to amaze me. And the fact that there is nothing he can say or do where his supporters will say, oh, whoa, now you've crossed the line. There's really it seems like there's no lower limit. Just when you think we've reached it, we'll dig a deeper hole so we can find an even lower limit.
Yeah, it makes you wonder what that line actually would be for them. It would have to be something like, entirely annihilating the planet with nuclear weapons.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Well, now you've crossed the line. You've destroyed the planet, Donald. That's going a little bit too far. Everything else was fine, but that was too much. And I think one of the things that bothers me the most is they want to, and when I say is, I'm talking about the media and the people with their soapboxes, and I have mine too. I went on, I went on my gun control kick, my anti-gun kick on Facebook and Twitter, and I calmed that down a little bit, but I have a feeling I'm going to get right back on it. But they want to make it something that it's not. As information about him, the shooter, came out afterwards, we find out that, he'd been to the club, he was a regular there, and he'd been going there, I think, for 3 years. Then there's his wife actually drove him there. His wife knew what he was planning, or maybe not what he was planning, but she was there when he bought the weapons, because he got the AR-15 and the handgun less than 2 weeks before the shooting.
The new reports that are coming out indicate that the wife was actually texting him while he was there that night.
I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, that's the latest of what I'm reading.
Well, so here's the other thing too, right? We live in an era of instant information, and bullshit can fly and misinformation can fly so quickly, and people don't understand this full investigation is going to take weeks and weeks and weeks, and we still may never know his true motivations. It's coming out now that he frequented gay chat rooms and had a gay dating app on his phone. So is there some element of maybe a self-loathing, closeted gay man who finally couldn't stand the pressure and snapped? Maybe. I don't know. We can't crawl into his head and know. But it's certainly starting to look like there may be some element of that.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk amongst the community, especially the gay community. I get the idea of his self hate and what that allowed him to accomplish.
And what I also find sad is, I myself have a lot of friends of all shapes and sizes and sexual orientation and what have you, but the fact that someone is so self-hating because they feel that they're gay or might be gay is really sad to me. The fact that he felt that there was no, like he couldn't tell anyone, or he couldn't come out or whatever, because I don't know, because of his religion or his heritage or his nationality or whatever. I know homosexuality is considered punishable by death in a lot of Arab countries. So who knows? Again, everyone's an expert on Facebook, right? So
Exactly.
you know everybody knows what the motivation was. Everybody's so sure what it was. I have no freaking idea. you know
Well, if you have no idea, Todd, just get off of Facebook then.
yeah, I really
You,
should. I don't know why I bother to post anything.
you have to be an expert to be on there, and if you say I don't know, then what good are you?
Yeah,
You
I
know,
know.
that's how it goes. What bothers me, and I alluded to this before, is that they're making it anything other than an attack on a gay club. If you listen to politicians talk about it, Republican politicians specifically, and you can say, "Oh, well, Scott, you're just you know pointing them out because they're Republicans and you're not one of them." Well, no, they're the only ones that are stupid enough to be doing this. They say, sending our prayers out to the friends and family. They don't mention that it was at a gay club. They don't mention it was a hate crime against gay people. None of that. It's it's either an Islamic attack and a terrorist attack, or it's like there was nothing of a hate crime about it whatsoever.
Well, because that wouldn't fit the narrative, Scott.
Yeah.
If it turned out, let's say they found 27 notebooks under his bed where he says how his mission in life is to kill gay people, it still wouldn't matter because they would fall all over themselves to still connect it to ISIS or Islamic terrorism. And again, let me make it clear, I'm not saying that I know or don't know that there was some connection. I don't know. But I do agree with you that there are the media seems to be going out of its way to not focus on the fact that it was a gay club.
Right. And there definitely is well, I believe there's definitely a narrative amongst Republicans. If you watch the press conferences, it took Governor Rick Scott, who is the governor of the state of Florida, actually quite some time to acknowledge the fact that it was a gay club. I read from other sources that the other GOP politicians are calling it a club where gay people would frequent, but in reality, it's not a club that gay people. Well, it is a club that gay people would frequent because it is a gay club.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't giggle because I think it's funny. I giggle because I think it's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
I can't. I just can't. Scott, say whatever you're going to say because I got nothing.
It's like I frequent the grocery store because I'm hungry.
Right? Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. That's perfect.
I grew up in an era of I mean, if you really want to talk about, repressed sexuality, even though people consider, the late 60s and in the 70s, sexual freedom, it really wasn't if you were gay. When I was growing up, I had a very, very difficult time with it, as did most people who I knew who were coming out at the same time. And the first person who I ever told that I was gay to, he's been a lifelong friend since we were little kids. And it was very difficult, even even with him. And I had known him for quite a while by that time. And now, you look at how easy it is for people to come out, and you look at somebody like the shooter, and I refuse to say his name, but the shooter came from an environment of religious repression. But if you listen to the interviews with his father is batshit crazy.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
There's no denying that. I have no words for him.
Yeah. You almost get the sense that he was proud of what his son had done.
Well, you see, I guess the FBI has been investigating the father as well, and they've come up with some things. Well, like him expressing on YouTube how gays should be punished, and how he allegedly pledged allegiance to the Taliban or one of those extremist groups. Yeah, it's just this. I have no feelings for this guy.
Well, I have feelings, but they're not very nice ones. I know there's a tendency for people to think that liberals or Democrats are these flower waving, tree hugging hippie types. But let me tell you something. I have no problems in kicking somebody's ass if I need to.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm tired of the whole liberal, conservative, right, left debate anyway. I get called a libtard on a regular basis because I lean to the left. I don't fucking care anymore. Like, it is what it is. Like, people paint with broad brushes and sweeping generalities, and I don't have time for that anymore. Like, yeah, because I lean to the left, that must mean that I'm a terrorist sympathizer.
Yeah.
Come on. Because I don't think that all Muslims are bad people, I am somehow condoning the violent acts of a few. Come on. Are we still in fifth grade?
No, exactly. Now, I want to say that I personally know Muslims. I have Muslim friends, and they're some of the nicest, most amazing people that I know.
Absolutely, they're just people. My neighbors across the street are Muslim, and they're normal. I mean, you would never even know. And I forget how it even came up. I think the neighbor, they brought me some homemade. They're from Jordan, and they brought me a homemade dessert that's native to their country. I don't remember the name, and we just struck up a conversation. And I think just by in conversation, the husband said something like, "Well, as a Muslim, I think maybe I offered them a drink or something." And they said, "Oh no, as Muslims we don't drink," and that's how it even came out. It's not like they walk up and down the street like announcing it,
Right.
There's a Muslim couple who actually owned a smoke shop across from my old apartments where I just moved from. And I would go over there, to get my cigarettes and everything all the time, even though there was like a quick trip next door to me, and then there was a Circle K just, a block down. But I went to them specifically because it was a mom and pop shop, but also specifically because they were Muslim. And I knew that their business had taken a lot of hits over the years because of that. And I wanted to show my support. I mean, not because I want to be a Muslim or anything like that, but to show that there are people who are open-minded and don't judge, and know that not everybody who's a Muslim is a terrorist, just like not everybody who is fill in the blanks is a fill in the blank.
It seems that in this country, Islam is the only religion or group of people where it seems okay to do that. Like I said the other day, well, if all Muslims are potential terrorists, then all Catholics are potential kid touchers. I mean, people are just people, and some of them are capable of evil things. That's just it. Like that's all it ever has been. Yes, there are some areas of Islam where they do preach hatred and intolerance, But I could say that of any religion,
Well,
pretty much.
you see
Except
now,
maybe Buddhists. I don't think they hate anything, but I wouldn't know.
you see now that this pastor, I believe in the Sacramento area, if any of you saw his speech, condemning gays and saying that the victims of the Orlando tragedy actually deserved what they got, just based on the fact that
Yeah.
they're gay.
My take on that, and I posted something on Facebook about that today. I refuse to comment on that or share it because whenever some Yahoo like that comes out of the woodwork, I don't understand why we give them the time of day. Like there's always some fringe idiot spouting, hate and bigotry, and I personally refuse to share it. So I don't want him to get one more view on YouTube than he deserves.
I can agree with that.
And there's a minister here in Phoenix doing the same thing, but this has been a pattern for the guy here locally for me for years, and they don't see the irony in the fact that what they're saying is exactly the same thing that Muslims are saying, and that they profess to hate Muslims so much, but they're exactly like them.
Bingo, you hit the nail right on the head, Scott, with that. And I bring that up all the time. It's just a different, the hate might be a different focus, like whatever the radical Islamists hate us for, I don't even fucking know. But they hate us and want to kill us for reason X. And now you have some pastor who's saying, well, gays should be killed for reason X. It's the same thing, and you're right. They don't even get it.
Well, Jonathan, what's the mood like down there now in the gay community? Is there people afraid to go out to the clubs, or is there just anger or sad? What's it like down there now?
Well, I mean, there definitely is a somber feeling down here, but the feeling I'm actually getting is a feeling of community. People just want to help. People want to go out and lend a hand, even if they're just dropping off a pack of water bottles to people who are donating blood. People here just want to help. They're personally, the things that I've experienced in regards to wanting to go out is it'll probably be a while. I don't know when I'll be okay with that. It could be this weekend. It could be a year from now. I'm not sure. But and not just in the gay community, but every person who lives here was affected somehow. Everybody here has feelings about it, and generally the reception I've gotten from most people has been enormously warm. I had a lady come up to me yesterday. She approached me and out of nowhere asked if she could pray for me. And she grabbed my shoulders and said a prayer on top of me, which was different from anything else that I've experienced. But I definitely appreciated the sentiment. She had good intentions, and I thanked her for it.
Look, I am the least religious person that there is, but you know what? People mean well. I think that was a great gesture.
It is. I'm
clearly she meant well.
Yeah, she did. Yes, and I'm not religious at all, but I'm not going to stop her. If she wants to send me good wishes, by all means, send good wishes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, everyone out here is just the people out here. I give them a lot of credit. They've done a lot. On Sunday, we actually, after I had kind of sobered up from my crying, I decided that we were going to go to the LGBT community center and see if there was anything we could do to help out. And they sent us to take food down to the Hampton Inn, which was across the street from the hospital. It's where the friends and the family were waiting for answers. And I was happy that I got to do that. We took food and water, and that it was a great experience for me, and it kind of helped me to feel better about the situation, knowing that I was out there and able to help a little bit.
Maybe I've said this many times before. Maybe I'm a little naive. maybe I'm a bit of an idealist, but I still firmly believe that the good in people far outweighs the bad. Like when I saw the length, like the lines of people waiting to donate blood, for the victims, it did my heart good. And then of course all the Facebook hypocrites are, well, why didn't they donate blood on any other? Like, who fucking cares? Like, the fact is they're doing it now. Something bad happened and people are lining up to help. Why can't people just accept that?
Exactly. I mean, it's astonishing almost. But the hashtag that I'm seeing a lot is Orlando Strong, and I've only been here a year and a half, and this event has definitely proved that the people of Orlando are strong.
Oh, I have no doubt about that. And as I said this to you on Facebook, but this is one of those defining moments for a generation. Like the Kennedy assassination was a defining moment for my parents, and 9/11 was a defining moment for myself. This attack is definitely going to be something that is going to be remembered for a very long time. It's unfortunately, it's just a stone wall for the thousands.
Exactly, and the thing is,
no, go ahead, Jonathan. I was just agreeing.
No, yeah, I was agreeing too. The thing is, you just never think that this is going to happen where you live, and the fact that it did, it's so unrealistic to me still.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely has to have a feeling of not feeling safe. I mean, I remember when 9/11 happened, and I'm all the way on the other side of the country from where it happened. But I remember going into work, and everybody was freaking out. And I remember I went into the break room, and I was in tears, and I was petrified because nobody knew what was going on. And I called my mother and my sister to let them know that I loved them. And I don't remember ever feeling that way at any other time in my life, just because of something going on in the world. And I can only imagine, that's a similar feeling to what people in Orlando are experiencing. So
I think we're at a point now where we have to realize that it's no longer some sort of existential thing. This sort of thing is here now. And we need to, as a country, figure out a way to deal with it. But if my own Facebook newsfeed is any indicator, we are quite some distance away from figuring out how to deal with this. Because like I said, all the same old rhetoric came out, and Scott, I know you've been wanting to, to touch on some of the memes that floated around and some of the pro-gun and anti-gun sentiment that floated around.
Yep.
Because again, more of same, every time there's one, I wonder if people just hit copy and paste like from the last time, because
it's easier than that. There's a share button now.
Yeah, well, yeah, and that's the other thing too. Like, at least can you manage to have an original thought rattling around in your skull instead of just taking some stupid unvalidated meme and just blindly forwarding it along? I mean, if you've got something to say, fine, say it, but at least own it and make it yours, instead of sharing something that you find oh so clever.
Can't argue with that, although I certainly am guilty of sharing my fair share of memes.
Oh, Scott, that's not what I mean. Me too. I do it too. But you also post a lot of, original thoughts and different things. Like, there's not, come on, there's nothing wrong. You come across something you find interesting and you share it along. Come on, that's what social media is,
Well, since you mentioned the memes, let's talk about some of them. I picked a few. And the first one that came up, on the left side, it says, if a madman wants to kill innocent people, he will find a way. Killers don't need guns to kill people. Timothy McVeigh used fertilizer. 9/11 terrorists used box cutters and planes. Nazis used cyanide gas. And taking guns from innocent people will not protect innocent people. The problem is not guns, it's a godless society. And then on the right, it has a list of everything that counteracted the bullshit on the left. You know, the fact that box cutters are no longer allowed on planes. You can't buy cyanide gas anymore. And let's see. If you want to buy a large amount of fertilizer, it's tracked by the government. So there were steps taken after each and every one of those.
Of course. In fact, think about it. Like, so here's my whole thing. Like, and it's more of the same old pro-gun bullshit that flows every time. It all boils down to the same old guns don't kill people, people kill people sentence that I'm so very weary of. And Scott, for everything on your list, the gun lovers will just add another one. The favorite one that I've seen is, well, the Boston Marathon bombers used pressure cookers. Should we just outlaw pressure cookers now? You know what? We're all not idiots. We know that humans have been finding new and inventive ways of killing each other since since we crawled out of the ocean. Okay, if I wanted to, I could bash someone's head in with a rock. You know, it's to boil it down to that is oh so silly to me. You know,
it is, especially when it's very obvious you can't bash 50 people's heads in with a rock in a matter of minutes.
Yeah, a matter of seconds, and not for nothing. Like, you've got a rock in your hand, someone's going to go, holy shit, that dude is hitting people with rocks. Let's get him. You know?
Well, yeah.
And you'd be tackled in like 2 seconds. You know?
Yeah, a rock is a lot different than something that can shoot 13 or 14 bullets per second.
And Scott, that's my whole argument. A pressure cooker has an intended purpose. It's to cook food. A hammer is intended to drive a nail. You know, a box cutter is intended to open a box. A high-powered rifle like the one used in Orlando exists for one purpose: to kill or wound as many humans in as short a period of time as possible. That's all. And I'm sorry, I'm a gun enthusiast and I'd like to own one, it just doesn't work with me. You know what? Find a new fucking hobby. I like to smoke cigars. Cuban cigars are illegal. I got over it. I don't sit around whining, oh, my precious freedoms. Oh, why can't I smoke Cuban cigar? I fucking just dealt with it, you know? Sorry, Scott, I'm with you. I'm fired up about this.
Yeah, well, it definitely goes to say when, Sudafed is more regulated in this country than the actual purchase of guns. And going back to what you had said earlier, you can kill somebody with whatever you want. You could kill somebody with a Nerf ball if you're that intent on it. It's going to take you some time.
Yeah, and that it's because they don't really, and this is my belief, they just don't have any other solid argument. So that's what they fall back on, because in a sense it's really hard to defend, because yeah, you know what? I could kill a guy with my bare hands if I was really intent on it. They don't have a valid argument of why military grade weapons need to exist in the civilian population, so that's what they fall back on. It really, it's like their only defense.
Give me enough Taco Bell and I could gas somebody to death.
Exactly.
One of the things that Jonathan just alluded to was how easy access we have to guns and how little they're regulated, which brings up the next meme. This was actually a tweet from Brian Donaldson, whose Twitter tag is the Nardvark, and he wrote, "Can I get 2 boxes of Sudafed? Sorry, by law you can only buy one at a time. Okay, then just 1 box of Sudafed and these 7 guns." and it's exaggerated, but not by much, because I just read a story today about a 13-year-old that they sent to buy cigarettes, alcohol, pornography, and a gun. And he got the gun, but he didn't get the others.
Wow.
Well, Scott, just to be fair, it varies by state, and there are states that do have very strict gun laws. It's not that easy to just stroll into a gun shop here in New Jersey and get a gun. So with all due respect, Scott, I don't think it's fair to make it sound like you can just walk in somewhere and buy a gun like you can a pack of Skittles. But your point is well taken. I'm a grown man, and I need to present ID to buy allergy medicine, and I can only buy one box at a time because someone might use it to cook meth. But a military grade weapon with an extended magazine and 4,000 rounds of ammo, no problem.
You want that gift wrapped?
Yeah, exactly. Engraved, maybe.
So New Jersey is one of 11 states that require IDs for purchases of any guns. Now, there's 17 states that require some type of ID for even handgun purchases. But that leaves how many other states? 33 other states that don't require an ID of any kind.
That's not a whole hell of a lot.
It's not. So there's 33 states where you don't need an ID.
I think my biggest problem when it comes to the gun control debate is, why does it have to be so polarized? Like, I personally have never felt the need to own a gun. I don't feel that I need one for protection or for sport or whatever. It's not something that ever interested me. I do occasionally enjoy going to the gun range, to fire off some rounds at a target. But the gun stays at the gun range. I don't need one in my house. I've never been afraid to that degree where I feel that I need it for protection. But I understand that there are people that do want to own one. I don't care about that. I don't care about your handgun that you feel you need to protect your family, or your sport rifle, or your skeet shooting rifle, or whatever. I don't care about any of that. I just think we need to start having a rational discourse on regulating these high-powered weapons. I don't understand why any civilian needs to have one. I just don't. And Scott and John, real quick, I just happened to be scrolling through Facebook, looking at some stuff, and I found a great meme related to what we're just talking about. It's got a picture of a Sig Sauer, which is the actual weapon that was used in Orlando. It was not an AR-15. On the top, it says, a car, a knife, and a hammer are just as lethal as an AR-15. Then why do you need an AR-15 to protect yourself when you already have a car, a knife, and a hammer?
That drives it home. Yeah, exactly.
How great is that?
I mean,
after all, you can kill a guy with a hammer, right? So just have a hammer under your pillow.
I've seen Dexter do it.
Right? Yeah, no one is ever going to convince me that a private citizen needs one of these weapons. And these yahoos building bunkers in Montana that are afraid of the imminent government takeover, what they need is Zoloft. They don't need high-powered weapons.
Exactly. I think what the problem is, when somebody who collects guns, and my entire family have guns. My mom has a gun. My sister has, and her husband have several guns. My brother, my nephews have guns. So, I come from kind of a gun culture. My father was a cop in Queens for 20 years, so he had a couple of service revolvers. So I grew up around guns. I don't like them. I've never had one because I don't trust myself with one. I think if I get pissed off enough, I would probably use it on somebody. So I've got several ex-boyfriends who are still alive today because I was smart enough never to carry a firearm. But my mom carries a gun. She's got a 22, and she just bought that about maybe 6 months ago, she wanted a gun because for whatever reason, all she does is go to the mall and Walmart. So it's not like she does a lot of traveling anymore. But she wanted one, and she wanted to get a 357, but she couldn't pull the trigger. But not a 75, by the way.
Yeah, that'll break her wrist.
Yeah, so she ended up with a 22, and she keeps it in her purse. And when we go out on a weekly basis, it never fails. She drops it at least once, and I'm just waiting for that fucking thing to go off.
Oh my goodness.
That's another main reason why I've never wanted a gun in my home, is for maybe no other reason than the numbers tell me that it's much more likely that a friend or loved one will ultimately be injured or killed by that gun than an intruder into my home.
Exactly.
For every story that a gun nut will show me about how someone, killed an intruder, during a home invasion, I'll show you 10 where a toddler came across a loaded gun and killed somebody. So, and as much as I think that am an intelligent guy and a responsible guy, how can I possibly guarantee that never, ever would my gun be somewhere where my daughter could find it? I just could never possibly guarantee that. So why have it?
Exactly. And I think a lot of other people agree with you. That's exactly the reason I don't own a gun, because you hear too many times about these accidents. And for whatever, I just don't want that to be me.
Yeah. We've talked a lot about the awful stuff that's happened with Orlando. And I think I want to talk about something before we close out that actually surprised me. And that was the senator from Connecticut, and I forget his name. Jonathan, you probably remember it. But he's the senator from Connecticut, Democrat, who started a filibuster in order to get the Senate to vote on an amendment, a waiting period for people that were on the no-fly list.
Christopher Murphy is his name.
Christopher Murphy,
Yep.
Yes. And he took action, and he got, I think it was 46 other senators to back him, although there were only, I think, 38 or 40 that were doing the filibuster yesterday. But they did that for 15 hours, and they got what they wanted. And it was a small step, but finally, somebody had courage and balls and guts enough to say, we have to do something. Because, honestly, after Sandy Hook, when nothing happened after Sandy Hook, and all those children were murdered senselessly, I thought, well, if that's not going to do anything, what will?
That's exactly what I said. Once we decided that the wholesale murder of children was tolerable, well, that's it. That, nothing is ever going to happen. And my feeling is this. I want reasonable gun control. I'm not looking to abridge anyone's rights. I'm so sick of it. I'm getting ready to wipe my ass with the Second Amendment because I'm so tired of hearing about it, and we could debate what the Second Amendment really means forever. But I'm not looking to abridge anyone's rights. I'm just looking to, can we just start maybe with just closing some of the more glaring loopholes? Like, Scott, in your own state, it is perfectly legal for one private citizen to sell a gun to another private citizen on the street in broad daylight. Should that be okay? I mean...
They can do it on Facebook, too.
Yeah, come on. That's all I'm talking about. Let's start that discourse. If it saves one life, to me, it's worth it. If someone somewhere has to get told, sorry, you can't buy that weapon, tough shit, tough shit. And people forget that there used to be a ban on assault rifles enacted by the NRA's hero, Ronald Reagan, I might add, that Congress let expire. And guess
Yeah,
what? We survived as a nation. We did not get invaded and conquered during the time when those weapons were illegal.
yeah, that Reagan, what a bleeding heart liberal he was, huh?
Yeah, that
Oh.
son of a bitch, trampling on the Constitution.
No, who is he?
The thing about this Second Amendment bullshit and people thinking, well, it's my right to carry a gun and yada, yada, yada. Well, you know what? People see that about the First Amendment too, but there's plenty of things you're not allowed to say. And if you don't think so, yell fire in a movie theater. Yell hijack or bomb at the airport. There are just certain things you can't say.
Right.
Or you can say them, but there are repercussions for it. So the same thing has to apply to the Second Amendment. When they wrote that, they had fucking musket balls. That's what they were using. Musket balls. Not an automatic weapon.
Well, what the gun lobby and the gun nuts always leave out, they love to use the end of the sentence, which says the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. But what they always cleverly leave out is the first half of the sentence that says a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. And guess what? We have a standing army now that defends the nation. We do not need local militias anymore. When there used to be settlements that were far flung, the local citizens knew that they might have to take up arms to protect their little town or their little settlement. Guess what? We don't have that problem anymore. I'm not worried about North Vietnam invading Kenilworth, New Jersey, and I might have to run to the closet and grab my rifle and start shooting. I'm really not concerned about that.
Right.
I'd be more worried about zombies.
Yeah, there you go.
I just wanted to voice and say that I was proud of Senator Christopher Murphy for doing that. He actually acquired along the way one Republican senator, and that was Pat Toomey from Pennsylvania, who actually joined the filibuster. And I don't know if that's a signal of things to come. Maybe more people might jump on board.
Well, sometimes all it takes is one. Like if one Republican is willing to risk some political capital in order to do it and get away with it, maybe more will follow. Listen, the polls consistently show that the majority of Americans, I believe the number is 73%. I could be wrong. Full disclosure, could be wrong. But most people, even NRA members, support reasonable gun control legislation, but the NRA is such a powerful lobby. And to any gun owners and NRA members that might be listening, I want you to remember this. The NRA does not care about you. They do not lobby for you, the individual gun owner. They lobby on behalf of gun and ammunition manufacturers. That's what they care about. Your membership dues are not paying their salaries. So just remember that the NRA does not give a shit about the individual gun owner wanting or not wanting to have a gun, and they don't care about your rights either. They just want more guns and more ammunition to be sold to more people. That's all.
Exactly.
Tirade over.
that is all. And I actually have those numbers in front of me. The actual number of it's 74% of NRA members are in favor of background checks, 84% of gun owners, and 90% of Americans are overall in favor of background checks.
There you go.
So
thank you for
if
that.
That's not an overwhelming majority, then I don't know what is.
Yeah, there you go.
Common sense. Who'd have thought it?
Right?
Jonathan, any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
I guess the only thing I want to leave off with, and if this is okay, I just want to let everybody know that, reach out to your gay friends and your gay family and, tell them that they're loved and let them know that they're appreciated. I'm seeing a lot of people, I'm getting messages from a lot of people, letting me know that nobody's really reached out to them. And I think in a time like this, it's important because a lot of us have a gay friend or a gay family member. Just take a moment to be kind to everybody.
Well said, Jonathan. Well said.
What about you, Todd?
I'd like to say that please to everyone in the gay, lesbian, transgender community, the vast majority of us out here stand by you and support you. We do not hate you. We do not fear you. We do not feel you should be threatened or harassed in any way. So that's really it. I just want everyone out there in that community to let you know that we are behind you and we support you as we get through this.
And the only thing that I can add is if you want to see something changed, you have to get out and vote. You have to go out and vote for the people who believe in the kind of regulations that you want to see. Common sense regulations, as Todd mentioned, background checks, or a 3 to 5 day waiting period, things like that. Nobody wants to come and take everybody's guns, but we need to be a little bit more sensible, and we need to elect people to Congress who have that sentiment. Otherwise, the NRA is just going to continue to get its way. And I personally think that one person's life is worth more than somebody's freedom to have an automatic weapon. That's just me. Thanks for coming on, Jonathan. I really appreciate it. And if you enjoyed this week's show, check out our past shows at the Supernauts Network at thesupernauts.com, as well as the other podcasts that we have. If you have a minute, I'm going to go off script here just a little bit. There's a blind cat sanctuary in North Carolina that I've been watching on Facebook. They have live feeds of their cats, and they house blind cats, cats with HIV, and cats with leukemia. And it's a permanent home for them. They don't give them out or anything like that. They take care of them until they pass on. And it's called the Blind Cat Rescue, and they're on Facebook. And if you're feeling like you need a cause aside from the very important causes we've talked about today, give them a look. They have live feeds from inside the cattery, and they're a really, really good organization. So keep that in mind. They're all good people doing good works everywhere, even in North Carolina.
Absolutely. A cattery. I didn't know such a word existed. I learned something here today.
For me, of all people, imagine that. And until next time, may all of your journeys be filled with pure imagination.